Hello, everybody. Thank you very much for joining me for another Alfred Hitchcock Presents review. Today I will be talking about Season 5, Episode 3, Appointment at 11, starring Clint Kimbrough. And Appointment at 11 seems to be, after doing some research, considered one of the lesser Alfred Hitchcock Presents episodes. And unfortunately, I have to agree, I really didn't enjoy this episode much at all. So after a very brief Hitchcock introduction, which I didn't think was that great to be honest, we start with a man named Davy, and he's having a bad dream, probably a nightmare, until his mother wakes him up. She wants him to have dinner with her, but he's getting ready to go out. He says he can't because he has an appointment to keep. It's also shown that he has a weapon on him, but this winds up being a mislead. I guess this was to try and make you think something more interesting was going to happen in this episode, but it really leads nowhere. So we go to the next scene, and Davy's in a bar, and he's talking to a blonde, and she seems interested in him, but he says he's not interested in blondes, and we'll find out more about that in a while. Although eventually he does surprisingly warm up to her. Which leads to more talking. He starts kissing her and everything. Thought this was a bit strange, but I guess it was okay. So he just keeps talking cryptic and saying that something is going to happen at 11 o'clock and that he'll be reborn. So eventually they sit down, and he starts telling a story about his parents, about how his mother had to work because his father was a piano player who drank. Eventually the story keeps going for way longer than it needed to be, but they had to fill time, I guess. So eventually he catches his father with another woman who's a blonde, which I guess kind of explains his issue with blondes. He kind of lumps them all together, I suppose. So eventually they keep talking, and things get heated when he asks the woman her age. Things kind of spiral from there. Eventually a sailor kind of butts in, not minding his own business, and he kind of jumps on Davy, so it looks like they're going to go outside and fight. I thought this whole scene was kind of stagey and unconvincing, to be honest. So eventually they go outside, and surprisingly the sailor calms down. He calms Davy down as well. He says, you don't really want to fight. So the sailor takes Davy to another place, and they start talking, and Davy asks him if he's ever really hated someone. So the sailor says he has, and eventually it gets around to the conversation where Davy tells the sailor you'd never kill somebody, but it's kind of hinted at that maybe he will. At this point, I'm knowing that this is the father. This really isn't a very good job of hiding this, if that's what the episode's going for. And he once again talks about how something's going to happen at 11 o'clock, but other than that, there's not really much to this scene. So Davy's walking around outside. Eventually he goes into another bar. Yes, this episode's very repetitive. The same thing pretty much happens again. He meets a man who helps him to get a drink. The man starts asking him things about his father, but Davy doesn't want to say anything. So eventually he gets upset. He's probably had a little bit too much to drink by now, as this is the third place he's been. He runs into a piano player, which sets off more memories of his father. He keeps talking about 11 o'clock. Eventually the man keeps trying to help him out, the man he met at the bar. None of these characters are named other than the main character either, which I thought was kind of weird. So at this point, Davy flips out even more, and suddenly we cut to the TV. It's a few minutes before 11 o'clock. We find out his father was killed because his father was a killer. He killed the blonde girlfriend, and that's basically it. So I guess the twist of the episode was just that Davy was waiting for his father to be killed. Maybe the episode was leading you to believe he was going to do it instead. But other than that, there's not really much to this episode. It just kind of plods along. The scenes are very repetitive. And usually I think the one thing Alfred Hitchcock Presents always has going for it is the acting, and I only thought the acting by pretty much everyone was only so-so in this episode as well. But I also have to partially blame the script and the direction, as the episode just doesn't really go anywhere. And like I said, the twist is predictable. Like, you know, he's talking about his father the whole time. Yeah, you didn't know his father was a killer, but there's nothing to really get invested in or be interested in here. And ultimately, I'm going to give Appointment at 11 a 1.5 out of 5. I just didn't think there was anything particularly good or interesting about this episode. And the concept wasn't that great, and also not that well done. So 1.5 out of 5 for Appointment at 11. And as always, thank you very much for watching.